Snow fell thick enough to erase the battlefield. Plastic zip ties cut into flesh. The sound echoed across frozen silence. A prisoner knelt.
Just two right.
An American contractor lay
Steady.
motionless, blood
Squeeze.
pooling dark against white. Then, crack. No one saw where the round came from. The commander spun, panic flooding his voice. Who's shooting? Where is she? A figure didn't stand, didn't run, wounded, bleeding, but still squeezing the trigger, stopping an execution in absolute silence. The convoy had been moving for 6 hours through mountain passes where winter ruled without mercy. Temperature sat at -12. Visibility measured in arm's lengths. Sarah Bennett adjusted her grip on the rifle, watching white emptiness swallow everything beyond 30 meters. 8 years military, 3 as a contractor. She knew bad ground when she saw it. Overwatch, this is ground. UAV feeds degrading. The voice crackled through her earpiece. Copy ground. We're flying half-blind up here too. She lay prone on a ridge overlooking the valley route. Her team, 6 contractors from Meridian Security, escorted a high-value witness through terrain that wanted them dead even without enemy action. The witness knew locations of 3 weapons caches. Intelligence considered him strategic. Sarah's scope showed nothing but white static. Her spotter, Marcus Cole, shifted beside her. This is wrong. Elaborate. Weather came in too fast. We had 4 hours clear forecast. Sarah's instinct agreed. She keyed her radio. Ground. Recommend immediate halt. Something. The explosion cut her off. Not close. Maybe 800 meters downslope. Orange bloom swallowed by white almost instantly. Contact. IED on lead vehicle. Gunfire erupted. Automatic weapons. Multiple positions. The ambush had been planned for exactly this weather. This terrain. Overwatch. We're pinned. 3 casualties. Vehicle disabled. Sarah's training took over. She tracked muzzle flashes through the scope, painting targets. Ground. I have eyes on 4 shooters. You're 11 o'clock. Elevated. The RPG came from nowhere. Backblast against snow gave her half a second warning. She rolled right as the rocket screamed past, impacting the rock face behind her position. The world became sound and pressure. Stone fragments turned into shrapnel. Something punched through her left thigh. Another piece opened her shoulder. Sarah hit the ground hard. Her rifle clattered away. Blood immediately started soaking through her thermal layer. Marcus was gone. Just gone. The explosion had caught him directly. Below, chaos consumed the convoy. Men shouting, engines trying to restart, return. Fire growing sporadic as ammunition ran low and visibility stayed at 0. Sarah tried to move. Her left leg wouldn't respond properly. The thigh wound was serious. Artery missed, but muscle damage severe. She could feel bone fragments grinding. She crawled toward her rifle. 4 meters. Might as well have been 400. Her radio sparked with fragments. Withdrawing. Can't hold. Leave the dead. They thought she was dead. Up here in the snow, no one could see her still moving. The gunfire below began shifting away. Her team was pulling back, taking survivors, leaving the disabled vehicle and anyone who couldn't move. Standard procedure. Sarah had written parts of that procedure herself. She reached the rifle, checked the magazine. 3 rounds remained. Her spare mags had scattered in the blast. 3 rounds. The wind picked up, throwing snow horizontal. Visibility dropped to 15 meters. Sarah forced herself into a stable prone position, using her good leg and both arms. The wounded thigh she tucked beneath her at an angle that made her want to scream. She controlled her breathing. Each exhale created a small cloud of vapor. In this cold, that vapor could give away her position. Through the scope, she watched enemy fighters emerge from concealment. 12, maybe 15. They moved toward the disabled vehicle with the confidence of men who'd won. They began pulling out bodies, looking for survivors, looking for the witness. Sarah's finger rested outside the trigger guard. 3 rounds, against 15 fighters. The mathematics were simple and brutal. Then she saw them drag someone out who was still moving. Hands zip-tied behind his back. Face bloodied but recognizable from the briefing photos. The witness. Still alive. They forced him to his knees in the snow. Commander Viktor Petrov surveyed the ambush site with satisfaction. The Americans had walked into it perfectly. Weather had been their ally. The storm intensified right on schedule, jamming the drones, reducing their technological advantage to zero. "Clear the vehicle," he ordered in Russian. "Anything useful, take it. Bodies, leave them. The snow will hide everything by morning." His men worked efficiently. Weapons, ammunition, radio equipment. One pulled out a tactical tablet, screen cracked but possibly salvageable. "Commander." Lieutenant Dmitri approached. "This one's alive. American passport says civilian contractor, but he was with the soldiers." Petrov looked at the kneeling prisoner. Blood ran from a scalp wound, but the man's eyes showed clarity. Awareness. "You speak Russian?" Petrov asked. The prisoner said nothing. Petrov switched to accented English. "It doesn't matter. You were here. You saw us. We cannot have witnesses." Still silence. "I respect that," Petrov continued. "Professionals understand these things. You knew the risks when you took the contract." He pulled out his sidearm. "I'll make it quick." The prisoner's breathing remained steady. Controlled. That impressed Petrov slightly. Most men broke at this point. "Any last words?" "Go to hell," the man said quietly. Petrov nodded to two of his fighters. They moved behind the prisoner, hands on his shoulders to steady him. The commander raised his weapon. "Wait." Dmitri pointed at the slope. "Did you hear that?" Petrov paused. "Hear what?" "Like a crack. Very faint." "It's a war zone, Lieutenant. There are sounds." But Petrov lowered the pistol anyway, scanning the white emptiness around them. His survival instincts had kept him alive through 5 deployments. When something felt wrong, he listened. The snow fell heavier now. Visibility, perhaps 10 meters. "Quickly then," he decided. "Before we lose all light." He raised the weapon again. Sarah's scope showed a ghost image through falling snow. The commander's arm raising. The prisoner kneeling. Range, 430 meters. Extreme for these conditions. Wind, variable, gusting left to right. Light, failing rapidly. Her thighs screamed. Blood loss made her vision swim at the edges. She steadied her breathing, pulled the rifle tight to her shoulder with her good arm. The wounded shoulder protested but held. The crosshairs drifted across the scene. Not the commander. Not yet. She found her target. The fighter holding the zip tie restraints, positioned behind the prisoner. Center mass shot, slightly easier in these conditions. Sarah's training came from a different era. Marine Scout Sniper School. A lifetime ago. Before the private sector. Before everything became about contracts and money. Her instructor's voice echoed. "A sniper's greatest weapon isn't the rifle, it's patience. And the second greatest is invisibility." She waited for the wind to settle. Just for a moment. Just for 2 seconds. It came. Sarah exhaled halfway and squeezed. The rifle cracked. Recoil punched her wounded shoulder. Pain whited out her vision momentarily. 430 meters away, the fighter with the zip ties jerked backward, a red mist appearing where his upper chest used to be. The sound reached them nearly a full second after impact. Confusion erupted immediately. Men dropped, seeking cover. Shouting in Russian overlapped into chaos. Petrov's head whipped around, trying to identify the shot's origin. The sound had echoed off rock faces, multiplied by snow and wind into a dozen false sources. Where? Where is the shooter? His men returned fire in 3 different directions. All wrong. Through her scope, Sarah watched without moving. The snow swallowed their panic. She could see them. They couldn't see her. The prisoner remained kneeling, smart enough not to move, to make himself smaller in the confusion. "It's a sniper," someone shouted in Russian. "One shooter or team? Unknown." Petrov screamed orders. "Defensive positions, find that rifle." They spread out, using the disabled vehicle and rocks for cover, scanning the slopes with growing desperation. Sarah hadn't moved, hadn't adjusted position. The golden rule, never reveal yourself after a shot, stay invisible. 2 rounds remaining. Her thigh had gone numb, not a good sign. Either shock was setting in or she'd lost more blood than she thought. Through the scope, she watched Petrov arguing with his lieutenant, trying to decide whether to execute the prisoner now or withdraw. The snow intensified. Another 30 seconds and she'd lose visual entirely. Sarah tracked her next target. Not Petrov. Not yet. The cold bit deeper. Sarah's body wanted to shut down, to conserve core heat, to sleep. She forced herself to stay sharp. Her mind went back to mountain warfare training. Alaska. 30 below conditions. The instructors had been merciless. "Your body will lie to you," Sergeant Vance had said. "It'll tell you to rest, to close your eyes. Don't listen. The cold is patient. It'll wait until you make that one mistake." Sarah's career path had been unusual. 8 years, Marines, multiple deployments, scout sniper qualified. Then her sister got sick, cancer, medical bills the military wouldn't cover. Meridian Security offered triple her military salary. She'd told herself it was temporary, just until the bills were paid. 3 years later, her sister was in remission. Sarah was still taking contracts. Why? She'd stopped asking herself that question. The truth was simpler and darker. She was good at this, maybe too good. Below, Petrov made his decision. "We're leaving. Kill the prisoner and move out." Sarah watched through the scope as 2 fighters approached the kneeling man again. Her finger moved to the trigger. The wind gusted hard, blowing snow horizontal. For 5 seconds, visibility zeroed completely. When it cleared, Sarah had her shot. She didn't take it. Instead, she tracked the angle of the guards' positions, the way they'd clustered, the sight lines they'd created. Her instructor's voice again. "Don't just shoot. Think 3 moves ahead. What happens after your round hits? Do you create opportunity or eliminate it?" Sarah waited. The guard on the left shifted his weight, created a gap, a 1-second window where the prisoner could move if the right pressure appeared. She adjusted her aim slightly, not at the guards, at the vehicle's fuel tank, already damaged from the initial IED, leaking. She could see the dark stains spreading under fresh snow. 2 rounds left. This would use one, but it would create chaos. Chaos meant opportunity. Sarah squeezed the trigger. The round punched through the vehicle's exposed fuel tank at an angle designed to maximize vaporization. The explosion was smaller than Hollywood would show. No massive fireball, just a sharp crack and a bloom of flame that superheated the immediate area. But in -12 weather, with men already on edge, already scared, it was enough. The fighters nearest the vehicle stumbled back. One man's jacket caught fire. He ran, screaming, spreading panic. Petrov shouted orders that got lost in confusion. In the chaos, the prisoner rolled away from his guards, using the disabled vehicle as cover. Sarah tracked the movement through her scope. Smart. He was using their own confusion against them. But then something unexpected happened. One of Petrov's fighters, positioned behind a rock, took a round to the shoulder. Sarah hadn't fired. She had 1 bullet left, still chambered. The wounded fighter screamed, "They shot me. From behind." Dmitri spun. "Who shot you?" "Someone behind us, inside our perimeter." The group fractured immediately. Trust evaporated. In the snow and confusion, they couldn't see each other clearly, couldn't communicate effectively. Another fighter went down. This time, Sarah saw what happened. Nervous fire from one of their own teammates, panicking, shooting at shadows. "Cease fire. Cease fire." Petrov's voice carried authority but not control. Through her scope, Sarah watched the beautiful chaos of an enemy force destroying itself. Their training said consolidate, form a defensive position. Their fear said everyone is a threat. Dmitri grabbed Petrov's arm. "Commander, we have multiple sniper positions. This is a kill zone. We need to withdraw." "We have 1 shooter," Petrov insisted. But doubt crept into his voice. Another explosion. Someone had triggered a grenade. Maybe deliberately, maybe by accident. It didn't matter. The effect was the same. Petrov made the calculation every commander makes when a position turns untenable. Fall back. Everyone fall back to rally point beta. The fighters withdrew in disorder, dragging their wounded, leaving equipment behind. The prisoner remained motionless behind the vehicle, still zip-tied but alive. Sarah kept her scope on the retreating figures until they disappeared into the white void. Then she let herself breathe. 1 round remaining. Her left leg was completely numb now. She tried to move it. Nothing. The blood loss was critical. She needed to reach the prisoner, cut him free, get help. But when she tried to move, her body refused. Hypothermia was setting in. The adrenaline that had kept her functional was draining away. Sarah's radio. She still had her radio. With shaking hands, she pulled it from her vest. Keyed the transmit. Any station, this is Overwatch 2. Emergency extract required. Grid reference. Her voice was slurring. The cold or blood loss or both. Static. She tried again. This is Overwatch 2. American Contractor wounded. Grid. Her vision blurred. The radio slipped from her fingers. The snow fell heavier. Sarah's consciousness flickered. Time became unreliable. Seconds or minutes, she couldn't tell. Movement below pulled her back. Through the scope, she saw the prisoner had managed to stand. Still zip-tied, he was trying to navigate away from the ambush site. Smart. Stay mobile. Don't wait for the enemy to return. But then 3 fighters emerged from the tree line. Part of Petrov's rear guard, doubling back to secure the area. They saw the prisoner immediately. Sarah's tactical mind calculated instantly. They'd realize only one sniper had been active. They'd understand they'd panicked for nothing. They'd complete the execution and disappear before any rescue arrived. Her rifle was steady despite her failing body. Muscle memory from 10,000 repetitions. 1 round. 3 targets. The mathematics were impossible. The lead fighter raised his weapon at the prisoner. Sarah's crosshairs settled. Not on the fighter, not on any of them. On the prisoner's zip-tie restraints. It was an insane shot. 400 meters, moving target, hands bound behind his back. The plastic restraint maybe 2 centimeters wide. Miss, and she'd kill the man she was trying to save. Her instructor's final lesson echoed. Sometimes the impossible shot is the only moral one. Don't take it to be a hero. Take it because it's right. Sarah's breathing stopped. The wind died for exactly 1 second. Her finger squeezed. The rifle cracked for the final time. The round traveled 400 meters in absolute precision. It struck the plastic zip tie dead center, severing it instantly. The prisoner's hands came free. For a half second, he stood frozen, not understanding. Then, survival instinct kicked in. He ran. The 3 fighters opened fire, but he was already moving, using terrain, using the snow. Their shots went wide. They pursued. Sarah watched through the scope as the prisoner disappeared into white infinity. The fighters followed, growing smaller, fainter, then vanishing completely. She'd given him a chance. That was all she could do. The rifle slipped from her hands. Sarah lay back in the snow. Above her, the sky was pure white. Snow fell on her face, melting against skin that was still warm but cooling rapidly. Her radio crackled with fragments of transmission. Search pattern. Coordinates unclear. 1 missing. They were looking for her, but in this storm, this terrain, they might as well be searching another planet. Sarah closed her eyes. Not to sleep, just to rest them. Just for a moment. Her sister's face appeared in her mind, smiling, healthy. That made everything worth it. The cold wrapped around her like a blanket. Then a voice. Faint. Distant. Or maybe close. She couldn't tell. Here. I've got her position. Hands on her. Moving her. Pain flooded back, which meant she was still alive. Jesus Christ. She's hypothermic. Get the thermal blankets. Radio for immediate dust-off. Check her wounds. Thighs bad, shoulders worse. Sarah forced her eyes open. Saw faces she recognized. Meridian security patch on tactical vests. They'd come back. The prisoner, she managed to whisper. We got him, Marcus said. No, not Marcus. Marcus was dead. This was Johnson from the 2nd team. Came running into our perimeter 30 minutes ago. Hands free, talking about a sniper angel. Sarah tried to laugh. It came out as a cough. They lifted her onto a stretcher. Started moving quickly through the snow. That shooting, Johnson said quietly. The whole pattern. That was you? Sarah didn't answer. Overwatch found 3 separate firing positions in their post-battle analysis, he continued. But there was only 1 set of tracks, only 1 rifle, only 1 shooter. I stayed still, Sarah whispered. Johnson looked at her with something between respect and disbelief. You stopped an execution from 400 meters out, wounded, in a blizzard, with 3 rounds. Did what I could. The helicopter appeared through the snow, black against white, beautiful. They loaded her aboard. Medics immediately started IV lines, wound packing, stabilization. As the helicopter lifted, Sarah saw the battlefield shrinking below, snow already covering the blood, the brass casings, the evidence. By morning, it would look like nothing had ever happened there. The rescue team had triangulated her position using acoustic analysis of the rifle shots. 3 distinct cracks, each echoing off specific rock faces in measurable patterns. The math had been complex, the conclusion simple: one shooter, elevated position, extraordinary skill. Captain Rodriguez from Meridian led the search team personally. He'd served with Sarah in the Marines, knew her capabilities. "She's alive," he told his team. "Sarah Bennett doesn't quit. Find her." They'd found her heat signature using thermal imaging once they got close. But it was the weapon that confirmed identity, her rifle, custom configured, modifications she'd done herself. And the shots. 3 casings found in the snow. 3 impossible shots that had saved 6 lives and turned an ambush into an enemy retreat. The medical team stabilized her during the flight. Thigh wound required surgery, but artery was intact. Shoulder damage was extensive but repairable. Hypothermia was the real threat. They got her core temperature up slowly, carefully, avoiding the shock that could kill. Sarah drifted in and out of consciousness during the flight. At one point, she heard Rodriguez talking to someone on the radio. Confirmed 1 friendly KIA, 5 wounded, 6 survivors including the package. Hostile casualties estimated 12 to 15. Ambush was broken by precision fire from elevated overwatch position. There was a pause. "Yes, sir. We believe it was Bennett. She was our overwatch. Lost communications after the initial contact, but maintained fire discipline throughout." Another pause. "No, sir. I don't know how she did it. But I've seen her shoot. If anyone could pull this off, it's her." The helicopter touched down at the forward operating base. More medics rushed out. They transferred Sarah to an ambulance, then to a field hospital. Surgery took 4 hours. They saved the leg, repaired the shoulder, replaced 2 units of blood. When Sarah woke, it was dark outside. Or maybe just dark in the room. Hard to tell. "Welcome back." Rodriguez sat in a chair beside her bed, reading something on a tablet. "How long?" Sarah's voice was rough. 18 hours since we pulled you out. Surgery went well. You'll keep the leg, though physical therapy is going to be hell." "Marcus?" Rodriguez's expression shifted. "Didn't make it. The RPG. I'm sorry." Sarah closed her eyes. Another name added to a list that was getting too long. "The witness? Safe. Talking to intelligence right now. He says you saved his life. Says you cut him free from 400 meters away in a snowstorm. I got lucky." "Sarah, they found your position. You had visibility of maybe 30 meters. You engaged targets at 400 plus, with 3 rounds, while bleeding out from 2 wounds in sub-zero temperatures." She didn't respond. Rodriguez leaned forward. The enemy fled because they thought they were surrounded by a sniper team. They reported multiple shooters in elevated positions with professional-grade equipment and coordination. But it was just you, 1 rifle, 1 wounded contractor who wouldn't quit. Marcus trained me well. This wasn't training. This was something else. A nurse entered, checked vitals, adjusted an IV. When she left, Rodriguez continued. "Intelligence wants to debrief you. Figure out your tactics, how you maintained concealment, the shot selection. They're calling it a textbook example of adaptive precision fire." "When?" "When you're ready. No rush." He stood. "The witness wants to thank you." I told him maybe later. "Tell him it was the job." Rodriguez paused at the door. "Sarah, you know it was more than that. You had 3 rounds. You could have extracted yourself, stayed hidden until rescue. Instead, you engaged a superior force to protect someone you'd never met. It's what we do. It's what you did. Don't diminish it." He left. Sarah stared at the ceiling. Her thigh ached despite the pain medication. Her shoulder would never be the same. But the prisoner was alive. The witness was safe. 3 rounds. 3 moral calculations. She'd made them correctly. That was enough. The official after-action report was filed 3 days later. Subject: hostile engagement, grid NK 447882. Classification: secret. Summary: convoy ambush resulted in 1 Kia, 5 WIA. Enemy force estimated 15 to 20 combatants withdrew after sustaining casualties. Package successfully recovered. Ambush failure, attributed to adverse weather conditions and enemy logistical difficulties. Sarah read it in the hospital, still recovering. Nothing about the shots, nothing about her position, nothing about stopping an execution. Rodriguez sat beside her bed again. That's the official version. Clean, simple, doesn't raise questions we don't want to answer. Like how a civilian contractor engaged enemy combatants in what technically might be an unauthorized combat action. Among other concerns, yes. Sarah understood. The contracts were specific. Protective detail, security, not offensive operations. What she'd done, saving lives, stopping an execution, could be argued as exceeding her mandate. There's a second report, Rodriguez continued. Classified higher. That one has the details, the shots, the tactics, everything. It'll be used for training purposes within the contractor community. But your name won't be on it. Good. The witness, his name is Thomas Brennan. By the way, he knows what you did. He wants to meet you. Tell him no. Sarah, I don't need his thanks. He doesn't need to feel indebted. Let him move forward. Rodriguez nodded slowly. There's also this. He placed a small black box on her bedside table. Sarah didn't open it. What is it? Meridian wants to recognize your actions. Officially, it's a service commendation for exemplary performance under adverse conditions. Unofficially, everyone knows what it really means. I don't want it. I told them you'd say that. They said to leave it anyway. Sarah pushed the box away with her good hand. Is there anything else? Your contract is up for renewal in 2 months. Meridian is offering a significant increase. They want you as senior instructor for their advanced protection courses. I'll think about it. But they both knew what that meant. After Rodriguez left, Sarah lay in the quiet. The hospital had a window view of mountains, snow-covered, beautiful, deadly. Somewhere out there, Petrov and his remaining fighters were filing their own reports, explaining the failure. The mysterious sniper team that had decimated their ambush. Let them think what they wanted, let them fear the mountains. The truth would stay buried in the snow. 14 months later, the Meridian Security Training Facility occupied 200 acres in Montana. Mountains surrounded it. Snow covered it 6 months out of the year. Sarah stood at the edge of the range, watching 12 contractor candidates move through an urban warfare scenario. Their movements were adequate, their tactics textbook, but textbook wouldn't save them when everything went wrong. Hold, she called into the radio. The exercise stopped. Sarah walked into the scenario space. The candidates stood at attention, breath misting in cold air. You're all dead, she told them. Every single one of you. You know why? Silence. Because you're thinking like a team. And teams are predictable. When you're alone, when you're wounded, when you have nothing but a rifle and 3 rounds, that's when training either saves you or kills you. She picked up a training rifle. Overwatch isn't about killing the most enemies. It's about making every single action count. 1 shot, 1 opportunity, 1 moral choice. Sarah demonstrated a firing position. Low, stable, invisible. Your greatest weapon isn't your rifle, she continued, echoing her old instructor. It's patience and invisibility. The enemy can't kill what they can't find. She ran them through the scenario again, this time emphasizing concealment over aggression, position over movement, thought over reaction. By the end of the day, they were improving. That evening, Rodriguez found her in the instructor's office, reviewing training footage. The new batch is solid, he said. They'll do. You're hard on them. If I'm not, reality will be harder. Rodriguez sat down. I got a call today, from Thomas Brennan, the witness you saved. Sarah's expression didn't change. I told you I didn't want contact. He didn't call to thank you. He called because his daughter is starting college this fall. Security studies. She wants to be a contractor. Tell him it's a bad idea. I did, he said. She's determined. Wants to help people the way someone helped him. Rodriguez paused. She asked what motto she should live by. He told her something he heard in that snowstorm. If you can hear them asking who's shooting, it's already too late. Sarah turned off the video monitor. That's not a motto. That's a warning. Maybe. But it's spreading. The contractors talk about it, about the silent overwatch, the invisible shot. They're calling it the White Ghost Protocol. That's dramatic. That's what happens when you do the impossible and survive to not tell anyone about it. Through the office window, snow began falling, light at first, then heavier. Sarah watched it cover the training grounds, erasing footprints, hiding everything. "Do you ever regret it?" Rodriguez asked. "Taking that contract? Being there that day?" Sarah thought about Marcus, about the 3 rounds, about the prisoner running free through the snow. "No," she said quietly. "I regret a lot of things, but not that." "The thigh still gives you trouble?" "Every winter. Worse when storms come in." "You could retire. You've done enough. More than enough." "Maybe." But retirement wasn't in her vocabulary. The work mattered. Teaching the next generation to survive mattered. Somewhere in the mountains, snow continued falling, covering battlefields, hiding secrets. And somewhere, contractors were learning that the most powerful shot wasn't always the loudest. Sometimes it was the one nobody heard coming. Sarah closed her eyes and saw the scope view. The kneeling prisoner, the impossible distance, the moral calculation. 3 rounds, 3 decisions, 3 lives. She'd make the same choices again. Every time. The training manual was published internally 18 months after the incident. Classified. Contractor network only. Chapter 7. Advanced Overwatch Tactics in Adverse Conditions. The case study was anonymized. Grid references changed, names redacted. But the tactics were detailed. Precise. Based on acoustic analysis, ballistic reconstruction, and survivor testimony. One section stood out. The operator maintained absolute position discipline despite severe injuries and deteriorating conditions. Rather than engaging to maximize enemy casualties, each shot was calculated to create specific tactical effects, disrupt command structure, create uncertainty, enable friendly escape. This demonstrates advanced understanding of asymmetric engagement principles, where a single operator can force enemy withdrawal through psychological rather than attrition-based pressure. The manual's conclusions became doctrine. 1. Invisibility is sustainability. 2. 1 perfect shot beats 10 adequate shots. 3. Moral calculation must precede tactical calculation. 4. Wounded doesn't mean defeated. Within 2 years, static Overwatch protocols became standard training for all Meridian contractors. Other companies noticed, adapted, changed their programs. The impact rippled through the entire private security industry. And all of it traced back to one woman, one day, one snowstorm. Sarah never read the manual, didn't need to. She'd lived it. Now she taught it. Each new class started the same way. Sarah would tell them about winter operations, about being alone, about making choices when everything was impossible. She never mentioned herself, never claimed credit. But sometimes, when the snow fell heavy and students struggled to understand how one person could control an entire battlefield, she'd tell them a story about a contractor who had 3 rounds and infinite patience, about an enemy who asked who's shooting and never found the answer, about the truth that winter buries but never destroys. And the students would listen, learn, understand. The ghost in the snow wasn't a person, it was a principle. And that principle would save lives long after Sarah Bennett stopped teaching it.